update. My 26 female fiance is convinced I have a crush on my friend's husband. Original post. My best friend Sarah, 26 female, and her husband Matt, 28 male, have put me in a very difficult position with my fiance, Jack, 30 male. I knew Matt since my childhood. He was my neighbor and we were friendly. Sarah and I were roommates in college and became close friends. When I introduced Sarah and Matt, they hit it off and started dating each other. I was so happy to see two of my friends get together, but also annoyed that I became the third wheel and was often ignored or set aside because they were so into each other. By the time I graduated, Matt had completely dropped me as a friend. That saddened me, but I was still good friends with Sarah, so it was what it was. Sarah and I would frequently hang out, but I never talked with Matt other than the occasional polite hellos. Sarah would sometimes try to do couples dates with her and Matt and me and my dates. I found that Matt had developed an unpleasant personality and would frequently be rude and condescending towards me. However, he's a very devoted and loving husband to Sarah, so for her sake, I ignored him. When my fiancé and I got engaged, we had no plans to do a party. Sarah was disappointed that we didn't throw an engagement party, so she organized a small get-together at her home to celebrate us. The party was nice, and as things were winding down, my fiancé and I went to thank Sarah and Matt for their sweet gesture before we took our leave. Matt was pretty tipsy by then, and out of nowhere, he suddenly hugged me and in front of my fiancé said that he was so glad that I was finally settling down and he is relieved that now I'll be over the crush that I had on him. I was shocked and told him that wasn't true. He just laughed and told Jack that I was always chasing him and he had to work hard to keep me away. I dragged Sarah in and asked her to please fix this mess, and she was all like, "Oh, he's drunk, ignore him," and says, "You know, I always trust you. I know you wouldn't act on your crush." Jack was pretty pissed by this point and he walked out. I ran after him and tried explaining that this isn't true, but he told me he doesn't want to be anyone's second choice or their backup plan. Since that night, he isn't even talking to me or returning my calls. I have talked to Sarah multiple times to clear things up with Jack, but she's brushing me off. I don't understand why they believe this or why she'd stay friends with me if she thought I was into her husband. I was in her wedding party and did all the work because her sister, who was the maid of honor, was too busy. I have helped her through her pregnancy and have babysat her kids so many times. She never gave me any indication she thought this, and why would she want me close to her family if she believed this? I feel humiliated that these people think I was pining away for a jerk like Matt. I need help in convincing Jack this isn't true. I am also mad at him for throwing away our relationship over what some drunken idiot said. I don't know what I'm going to do about my friendship with Sarah. Now for my opinion for OP. It sounds to me like you need a better friend than Sarah, because with friends like her, who needs enemies because she screwed your relationship up? As for Jack, I don't know what to say. My feeling is that if he was willing to marry you, he should know you, and he should trust you, and he needs to listen to you. So you need to have a conversation with Sarah and see if she is willing to try and mend your relationship with Jack. And you need to reevaluate your relationship with Jack to see if he is really the person that you really want to marry, because he needs to listen to you and trust you. Best of luck to you, OP. Now for the comments before reading the update. Sarah thinks it's true too. She was confident in her relationship and didn't see it as an issue, but I'm pretty sure she thought it as well. That's why she's brushing you off, because she agrees with him. For Matt to F up your relationship, that relieves him of the responsibility of thinking you have a crush on him is irony of the highest effing level. He's a prick to say that in front of Jack. Point out to her that her husband effed up your relationship, and you expect them to do something about it, or you're through with them. I have no idea how to heal this with Jack. He likely won't listen unless he comes to his senses when he calms down. The issue is whether he'll communicate with you at all. But if he does, go full guns on how ridiculous it is that you got them together and would never have done that if you were after him yourself. Meanwhile, drop all contact with Sarah and Matt. They're just effing with your life and they sound pretty smug and nasty to me. I think it's more what Sarah said that set Jack off Friends usually know each other's secrets, so Sarah's co-signing what Matt said holds more weight than if she had disagreed. Also, it's possible that Matt has made slick comments like this to Jack behind your back. Sarah and Matt are people you do not want in your life. If your fiancé is this insecure, I suggest you take a step back. Send him his ring and tell him that you will wait until he decides to believe the woman he claims to love. He also seems like an ass for refusing to communicate. I do not see a great marriage if this is how he resolves conflict. I just want to say that after reading your update, I am really happy you decided to stand up for yourself against Sarah. She was a shitty friend and was taking advantage of you while also treating you horribly. I'm also glad that you learned more about yourself and have grown from this experience. I know it hurts losing Jack, but after reading your update and how he handled the situation, you dodged a bullet. If I was a fiancé to someone, I would listen to them and try to be with them. The fact that he gave you no options and basically pinned all the blame of the relationship ending on you is pretty telling for what kind of a partner he would be in the future. I hope you continue to grow and learn more about yourself, and most importantly, stand up for yourself. Please do make an update on how you're doing in your journey if you can or feel like it in the future. Good luck, OP. Now for the updates. Update 1. I talked to Sarah again and asked her first of all why she'd think I'd have a crush on Matt. She said that when I first introduced them, I had talked up Matt and gushed about him, and she took that as me being into him. I said I was fond of him since I've known him for a long time, but that doesn't mean that I want to be with him. She said when they started dating, I was often upset about it. I said I wasn't upset about their dating. I was upset that she'd make plans with me and then leave me to be with him, and when we were all together, I didn't enjoy being the third wheel while they ignored me. That had nothing to do with wanting him and more to not liking being left out by my best friend. I asked her why she hadn't said anything before, and she explained that she could manage the situation. She had asked Matt to stop talking to me completely, and she engineered situations so there was little chance of us socializing with each other. I asked her, now that I have explained that I never had a crush on Matt, can you please talk to Jack and tell him? She said that she didn't want to lie. This frustrated me immensely. She could ignore this imaginary crush for years and manipulate me, but won't talk to my fiancé to help my relationship. I told her I was done being her friend. Thinking back, I was always doing stuff for her and she used me, but did little for me. Update 2. I wrote a long letter to Jack explaining the entire history of my relationship with Sarah and Matt with the recent screen caps. I asserted as best as I could that I had never pined after any guy, and I loved him and he was my only choice. After days of silence, Jack agreed to talk to me. We met and he said that he sees two ways of interpreting this situation. 1, Matt and Sarah are right, and he doesn't want to be my second choice. 2, they are malicious people who are messing with me, and that shows very poor judgment on my part that I have a best friend like this, and he doesn't want that quality in a life partner. Either possibility leads to the same conclusion, that he wants to call off the engagement. He reminded me that I had represented Sarah as one of the most important people in my life. I jump up and help her all the time. I had once canceled plans with him to take care of her kid when the baby was sick. It had irked him, but he had seen it as me being caring and nice, but now he's seeing all that in a different light. I cried and begged him not to end our engagement, but he wanted a break for a while. I thought over what he had said for a few days and came to realize that he was right. I was a clingy friend and a doormat. I never even saw how much one-sided my friendship with Sarah was. I was a doormat with Jack too. I didn't want to get married or have kids this early, but agreed to his timelines. I gave up an exciting job opportunity with more money because he didn't want me traveling for work. I love him, but I need to fix myself and be stronger. I gave back his ring and ended things. I returned all the gifts he gave too. He was offended by that, but I didn't feel good about keeping the very expensive things he had given me. He makes a lot more than me and was very generous with what he gave me, but I can't keep that now. Sarah was quiet for a while, but then started calling me. I ignored a lot of her calls, but this morning I answered her call and told her about the breakup. I was looking for sympathy from my old friend. She was more interested in knowing if I was still going to watch her kid while she and Matt went on an overnight trip. She got pretty angry when I said no. I have blocked her now. I have lost my fiancé, my best friend, and my relationship with my nephew, whom I adored all in one go. But still, I am thankful for the comments that showed this wasn't something that I could fix and helped me rip off the Band-Aid and walk away from this mess. Update 3. I wanted to thank all the people who commented and DM'd me good advice to me about my previous posts. I especially want to thank those who advised me about my job. I took up that suggestion and went and talked to the hiring manager, explaining that I was very passionate about the work, but I couldn't travel back then due to certain family responsibilities. But I am able to travel now. He didn't have that position open anymore, but he connected me with a manager in a different region. This job required relocating very far away, and that seemed like a blessing at this point, and I jumped on it. I am now in a new city and very grateful for leaving behind the mess that my relationships had become. The fallback after my engagement broke was not pleasant. I don't have a good relationship with my parents because they have always been very critical of me. This incident seemingly justified all their opinions of me, and they crowed a lot about how I have ruined the only good thing that I managed in my life, even though I explained what happened. The impression my family has is that Matt's family tried to do a nice thing for me, and I had a tantrum at their party and my fiancé broke up with me because of my behavior. I am so grateful to my job for allowing me to move away from all these people. My ex-sister-in-law had called me a few times to talk to me, but I avoided her for a very long time because I didn't think that I could deal with more criticism. I did agree to see her a few days before I moved. She wanted clarification on why we broke up because she said that the reason Jack had given her was so dumb that she was convinced that he wasn't telling her the truth. He told me what he said and he had given her the correct details. I confirmed that that's what had happened and she was dumbfounded. I hadn't realized this, but she liked me very much and thought well of me. I was so moved I cried. She might be the only person in real life who felt I wasn't in the wrong. She tried to convince me to talk to her brother and work this out. She was very disappointed to hear that I was moving away. Another reason I'm glad for the relocation, otherwise I'd have been tempted to agree to her setting up a meet. Later Jack left me a message saying that we should talk, but I haven't responded to him. I moved and I'm settling down in this new place. I am very busy with my new job and getting used to a very different lifestyle in this big city. I've thought about calling him, but then I think I should let that lie and work on building a new life for me. Story 2. Would I be the a-hole if I accepted a large sum of money from my biological family? I, 20 female, was adopted as an infant. I never met my biological father or mother, but knew that I was adopted from day one. I also know that my bio mom was 15 when she had me and my bio dad was in his 20s. My parents have a biological daughter, my sister 25 female, who is in grad school and has student debt, whereas I got a full ride to do my undergrad. This year I took a DNA test to learn about what cultures I belong to and genetics I have, also to screen from any genetic diseases. I discovered I am predisposed to certain allergies I didn't know about, and I also discovered several matches, and when I saw the last name I didn't think anything of it. However, a few weeks ago I received a phone call from a family law office asking if I was who I claimed to be, and we spoke for a little bit. I was asked to join a Zoom meeting later on, and when I did, I saw my bio grandmother for the first time. I started welling up. She and I have the same color of eyes and I have her nose. I didn't know how cathartic meeting somebody who resembled you felt, and I started to cry. We chatted for a few minutes before getting down to business. I was shown legal credentials proving this was a real attorney's office, and I was asked to show some photo ID. I asked what was going on when my grandmother told me the truth. My bio dad is a trust fund baby, and he is rich. As a middle-class person, this was a huge shock. After my bio family found out he had a kid and told nobody about me, they were furious. My grandmother wants to change over my bio dad's trust to me. I won't say how much for privacy reasons, but I could live on it for the rest of my life. Donate to charity every year and still have a crap load of money left over. It is a major FU money. My bio-grandmother also said that because she has funds for other grandchildren, I would receive one of those in addition to my bio-dad's trust. She told me my bio-dad is single and won't affect anyone but him. She also said that she would want to find my bio-mom to compensate her as well. The lawyer told me that I should obtain a family law attorney and that my bio-family would pay for them so I can obtain what my grandmother calls the money I deserve. I obtained 2 attorneys, one family and one estate, and they are walking me through the process of obtaining the funds. I told my family about it, and they talked about how my sister could finally be a professional student and how their mortgage could be paid off. When I told them how the fund works, giving an allowance every month instead of being a free-for-all, their tune changed. They said I am their family and should refuse the funds out of principle. I really want to accept the fund and meet and reconnect with my biological family, but I don't want to lose my family while making the decision. So would I be the a-hole if I accepted this money from my biological family? Now for the advice. Absolutely not the a-hole. Your adoptive family should be ecstatic that you'll be set for life. I'm glad that you have attorneys to help navigate you through this. Edit. Please be very careful of your biological father. The fact that your bio-grandmother is going to switch his trust to you makes this a bit more important to be careful, especially as he is guilty of statutory rape at least. Obviously, accept the money. I'd say it would be a very nice gesture to share some of it with your family, adoptive family, especially to pay tuition for your sister so she graduates debt-free, as you did, and help your bio parents a bit with their mortgage. She's not getting a lump sum, only monthly allowance payments. Sure, it would be nice to help out her adoptive family, but they got mad when they realized she wouldn't get a big wad of cash to immediately pay their debts. I don't get how greedy people can be. The second the adoptive family finds out about the money, OMG, you can give us so much now. The second they find out it's set up in a way so that people can't use OP like that, and how dare you think about accepting something we can't also enjoy. You should refuse it and suffer with us, or you're a bad person. And we're going to use the "we're your real family" guilt tactic to try and manipulate you into it. Real family would want what's best for OP even if they didn't get any of it. If my sister came and told me that she just won a life-changing amount of money, I wouldn't be able to stop myself from hoping for a little help. Times are tough because humans are human. But I wouldn't expect it, nor would I get mad if she said she couldn't, nor would I immediately start planning all the things that I was going to do with her money. Nah, I'd ask her where the first place she's going to travel is going to be and to take lots of photos. Bonkers. Story 3. Am I the a-hole for telling my niece it's her fault that my horse kicked her? I, 27 female, have a niece, 14 female, who is my older brother's, 36 male, and his wife, 34 female, daughter. She's a very sweet girl and she loves my horses and the other horses I board, which are my friends. My brother and his wife live in the city while I live in my uncle's ranch on my mother's side in a different state. My brother and I have different moms, but the same dad. They sent my niece to come stay with me for a few months, which I greatly accepted. She's been good and she calls her friends back at her home state and FaceTimes her parents once in a while. She's a great help with feeding my animals and my horses. The only problem is, she doesn't know how to ride horses and sometimes teases the horses. I have 2 very young horses, a filly and a colt, which are very excited horses, and I don't really allow her in the field with them, as they like to kick and buck even when people are around. And I have an old stallion, which was my first horse my uncle got me. His name is Rooster, and he is 32 years old. That is my niece's favorite horse. She always wants to ride him, but I don't allow anyone to ride him, and I don't ride him anymore. He's very patient and kind, but he doesn't like anyone touching his back legs and his tail when you walk behind him. He will kick, but when he knows you are there, he doesn't mind being touched back there as long as anyone approaches him in the front. Overall, he's a great horse. She will tease him with a lunging whip by tickling his back legs and his tail, trying to get him to kick. I have told her numerous times and warned her. She still continues to do it behind my back. When I told her to go get Rooster out of the pasture and into his stall, She went to go get him, and I heard a scream in the barn. I got over there, and she was holding onto her leg, crying in pain, while Rooster ran back to the pasture. I asked her what had happened, and she said that Rooster had kicked her left thigh, and I asked her if she touched him on the back legs or his tail. She said that she pushed him on his tail to get him in his stall, and that's when he kicked her and ran off. She started cursing about Rooster and doesn't want to be around him. I told her it's her fault that she provoked him and for not listening to me after so many warnings. I told her that the bruise on her leg is a lesson now to be careful around bigger animals, especially ones that can kick at any moment. She can walk it off, and she called her parents afterwards. They called me and told me that it was my fault for not supervising her and that they're going to get her home. I told them everything, but they won't listen to me, and my sister-in-law told me that I need to get rid of Rooster. I told her no and hung up. Now I'm wondering, am I the a-hole? Now for the advice. Not the a-hole. 14 is old enough to take directions and warnings. You've told her several times not to do what she did. She didn't listen and continued to do it anyway. Rooster gave her a lesson in why she should listen to warnings and directions. I mean, if you keep telling a kid not to touch a stove because it's hot, and they don't listen and touch the stove and get burned, are you going to throw the stove out? To me, this is the logic of her mother. I have warned her so many times, and she always reassures me that she wouldn't do it. But for some reason, she would record teasing my horse Rooster. I even had friends who had seen her do it, tell me to not have her around the horses anymore. I thought I could trust her, but now I do believe that she needs to go home. I agree that it's probably time that she goes home if she can't listen or do right by the horses, but I absolutely do not agree that you should get rid of your horse because of it. This isn't your fault, and it's definitely not the horse's fault. ETA, and honestly, your niece and her parents should be lucky that the kick wasn't worse than it was. Instead, her parents putting the fault on you, they should make her take responsibility and let her know that this is what happens when you don't listen to how to properly care or deal with an animal. I think this is a big kicker. The amount of power and force that a horse carries in their legs is wild, and the fact that he probably did it lightly to prove a point to the child is amazingly lucky, and probably indicative of how well trained the horse was in the first place. That's all for today. If you're enjoying this story, please like the video and share your thoughts in the comments section down below. Thank you.